welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars since 2010, so you don't have to, in the often pretty desperate hunt for points. And it's new surroundings. It's time for the opening round of 2016, the Australian Grand Prix. And as you can see, we're driving for Manor Racing in their final season in Formula 1, powered by Mercedes engines this year, taking the place of Rio Haryanto to try and tackle this season. And we're coming into this off the back of what was an incredible run at the tail end of 2015 to make McLaren our top target, the team that has scored the most points constructors-wise, and the driver, well, the season where I've scored the most points as a driver, even though I was Jenson Button for F1 2015 reasons. But by the by, I feel like this season is going to be a massive difference. This feels like it's going to be tough already. Just the pre-season event was a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a slog, but it was a bit more difficult to battle up with some of the guys up near the front. So we could be in for a season of struggle. But this team in reality did score points at least once in 2016. So maybe we can defy the expectations a little bit. But as I say, it's a very different surround. We've got the laptop and the agent and the R&D pass and all that sort of stuff. I'll address the R&D stuff now, actually. Resource points wise normally means doing practice programs, and that's basically the same from here all the way through to the present Formula 1 and probably F1 26. I'm recording this just a couple of days before the DLC drops. So it's likely that we'll never ever do a practice program. We're just going to run kind of normally. As you can see, we've done practice session 1. I literally went out and retired just so we could get this screen, so I could get the standings and show you who's where in the season, and we got resource points for that. So I've already started a bit of R&D. So we will be doing R&D, but it's not going to be a massive amount compared to what it would be if I sat and did all the practice programs and picked up all the resource points and all that sort of stuff. To try and make it a little bit more realistic, because I could quite easily do all the programs, get all the points, which A, means more laps in practice, B, means an awful lot of unrealistic upgrades, and we get this car, every backmarker car, flying up the grid, and that's not quite what we want. We want to live the struggle, shall we say. So 2016 then, a new car, a new season, and the first season for Haas, so it's a 22-car grid once again, at least for this season, and that will be the last time until 2026. So get used to 22 cars on the grid before we go into what has become a more traditional 20. But there's been some driver moves, there's been some team moves and some changes. We come off the back of a run at McLaren, which got 5th in the Constructors, and also Nico Rosberg took his world title in our 2015 a season early. In the real world, obviously, we're coming into this season as Hamilton having another title. And you can see in the standings, things have moved about a little bit. Now, this is the vanilla version of the game insofar as there are no mods, but it's the most up-to-date version. So, anyone who's used to Codemasters Formula 1 games know that they don't really like moving drivers around mid-season. It's, you do an update and then that's it. You just have that driver there for the entire season. And that'll become obvious in just a moment if you're not already looking at the screen. But as you can see, Hamilton and Rosberg still at Mercedes, Vettel and Raikkonen still at Ferrari, Bottas and Massa still at Williams. Kvyat listed 7th because he should be driving the Red Bull, but he's been demoted to Toro Rosso as he would be after round 4 of the 2016 season. Max Verstappen comes into Red Bull with Daniel Ricciardo. It's then Perez and Hulkenberg still at Force India. Grosjean starts at Haas. Felipe Nasr stays at Sauber. Sainz stays at Toro Rosso. The McLarens of Button and Fernando Alonso remain. Ericsson remains at Sauber. Magnussen moves to Renault with Jolyon Palmer taking over the Lotus name. They're now Renault. Pascal Wehrlein is our teammate at Manor. Esteban Gutierrez is at Haas. And there we are, Manor, down at the bottom. So not a huge amount of change in terms of drivers moving, other than the big one being Max moving to Red Bull 4 rounds early. So we'll start the season as a Red Bull driver. And we will have the likes of Renault and Haas and Sauber to fight. In the pre-season race that I did, Haas, Sauber, Renault, and occasionally McLaren where the cars are around us, but everybody else a little bit out of reach. We'll see how that goes through the season, though. As I say, it might be that we have just a little bit of competitiveness. But we start the season in Melbourne at Albert Park, the scene of many a race already in this series, and not all of them great. But we're, like I say, coming into this off the back of a season that actually went really well for us. We started in the top 10 and scored points last season, which was our best run since 2010, when we got a 12th place in qualifying. But every other season, we've not scored here. The last season was the first time that we'd scored. Is it going to be as easy to score this season? I doubt it. We're probably going to be fighting to try and scrape a point now and again, which is a bit like the real team. Let's not forget that points-wise, McLaren may now be our best in this series, but before that, it was a solitary point back in 2013, which is when we were driving for this team. We were driving for Manor Marussia at that point, and we only scored a point. We've managed to go every season scoring, but I feel like that first point in the season could be coming sooner rather than later. So this is going to be a bit of a step into the unknown, but it's also going to be quite interesting to see how we stack up against the AI in this one. As I said in the pre-season race, if you didn't watch that, go back, give it a quick watch. Just a little overview of the season. Still on legendary AI rather than the ultimate option that is available in this game. Soon we'll be getting to that sliding scale where we have to kind of level ourselves accordingly per game, because it is pretty dynamic when it gets to that. Right now, though, we should go to practice and see just how far off this Manor is, or whether we can actually mix it with the lower midfield. While we practice, we'll talk about the real world 2016 Australian Grand Prix. Albert Park was once again the venue for the opening round of the Formula 1 season, as, for the first time since 2014, 11 teams arrived in Australia, with Haas joining the grid at the sport. There were also changes to the qualifying format, which had everything talking. The FIA had announced an elimination-style qualifying format, which, while it was still split into 3 qualifying sessions, there'd be an elimination every minute and a half after an initial few minutes in session 7 in the first, 6 in the second, and 5 in the third. It was a format which would draw huge criticism later on in the weekend. The opening practice session of the season was the intermittent rain, which would catch a number of drivers out in terms of getting their best lap times in. Ferrari Sebastian Vettel aborting the final run as the conditions deteriorated. It'd be Lewis Hamilton who topped times ahead of the pair of Red Bulls, Kvyat leading home hero Ricciardo. Rain would continue into the second session, prompting a few drivers to elect to not set lap times. Unlike the first session, there was an incident for one of the drivers as Nico Rosberg lost his Mercedes at turn 7 and damaged his front wing. Lewis Hamilton would once again top the times, followed by Nico Hülkenberg and Kimi Räikkönen. Practice 3 was the first dry running of the weekend, but that wouldn't stop a few drivers exploring the runoffs, Alonso and Perez both having harmless offs during the session. Mercedes would leave it late to show off their pace on the super soft tyres, Hamilton making a 3 for 3 as he once again led the way ahead of Rosberg and Vettel. It was time for the first running of the new elimination qualifying session, with all 22 cars quickly out on track, knowing that one mistake could see them eliminated after the opening 7 minutes. There would only be one shock exit, as Red Bull failed to turn Daniel Kvyat round in time after his initial runs, the Russian dropping out alongside both Manors, both Haas cars, and both Saubers. The issues with the new qualifying system became apparent in the second session, as the initial rush of cars made way for an empty track as the session ticked down to its end. Bottas would find himself eliminated and under investigation after Williams didn't provide the FIA details of the suspension he'd used. Bottas would be joined by both Renaults, both McLarens, and both Force Indias. The final part of qualifying would also see a frenetic start and a dull end, as the remaining 8 drivers all set their times early before heading to the pits for the final 5 minutes. Hamilton would take pole position ahead of Rosberg, Vettel, Raikkonen, Verstappen, Massa, Sainz and Ricciardo. After the letdown of the elimination qualifying format, the race itself would have more excitement before it properly begun, as Kvyat's electrics would go on strike during the formation lap, necessitating another formation lap. When the race started proper, Vettel and Raikkonen would catapult their way past both Mercedes to lead, while Hamilton would be forced wide, dropping further back to 6th. Hamilton would move back into 5th, but be unable to pass Verstappen's Toro Rosso until drivers started to pit. Rosberg was the first to pit on lap 11 in an attempt to undercut Vettel, a strategy which very nearly worked as the Mercedes closed on the Ferrari. His chase would be halted, however, as Alonso clipped the back of Gutierrez, throwing the McLaren into a barrel roll at 190 miles an hour before landing upside down at barriers. Alonso would walk away with minor injuries while the race was red flagged to clear the wreckage and repair the barriers. The red flag allowed Mercedes to change Hamilton's front wing, while Romain Grosjean would save a pit stop as he was the only driver yet to pit. Sauber found themselves caught out as they worked on Ericsson's car with less than 15 seconds of the stoppage left, netting the sweeter drive-through. Vettel would lead the field away again through his rear gunner Raikkonen. Wouldn't last much longer, as he had to pull into the pits to retire after a fire began appearing from the airbox of his Ferrari, leaving Vettel vulnerable to Rosberg behind. Rosberg would bring himself closer to Vettel as the laps ticked by before the Ferrari pit on lap 35, where he'd have a slow stop, which dropped him behind Rosberg and a recovering Lewis Hamilton. Vettel would find himself closing on Hamilton as the race entered its final throws, but he'd be unable to get by the reigning champion. So it would be Rosberg who took the win ahead of his teammate and Vettel, while the top 10 was completed by Ricciardo, Massa, Grosjean, scoring a point for Haas on their debut, Hülkenberg, Bottas, Sainz and Verstappen. After such a strong 2015, we know this season's going to be a bit more of a fight, and qualifying may very well be our Achilles heel. This car may have a Mercedes engine, but it's certainly not as quick as its factory cousin.
Don't be afraid to come and change your setup, that's what practice is for. We want to be quick, but we also want to be comfortable and consistent. Let's find that balance.
Thank you, Jeff. Getting out of Q1 may be a rare sight in 2016. Let's at least try to avoid last place, but maybe try to get on terms with Pascal out of the gate, so we're in the 19th spot to start the season.
Welcome to Melbourne, where qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix should be getting underway shortly. This is the kind of track that eats rear tyres for breakfast, or so I'm told by more experienced drivers than myself.
No matter how good a driver is at managing their throttle application to limit rear slip, they can't always overcome a car that's inherently bad at looking after its rear tyres. Here we have a lot of low-speed corner exits, which means a whole load of energy, heat and tyre wear.
Okay, we know it's going to be a struggle to get out of this session, but give it your best shot.
Confidence there from Jeff. It is going to be a struggle to get out of Q1 as we sit in the garage ready to go. Practice, it took me a little bit of time to get back used to how F1 2016 handles. A few moments where we just felt like we were just going to lose the rear pretty much anytime we were near a curb, which didn't particularly work out well in terms of time, as we were about 2 seconds off Verline. Cautious though in practice. I think maybe in qualifying we're going to send it a little bit more. Beating Verline has got to be our goal. Realistically, we've been introduced to rivalries already, and Verline is our rival because he's our teammate. I don't really want to be Harry-Amto levels of slow. So let's get out.
Perhaps we should get out there before it gets busy.
Exactly what I was just saying, Jeff. Thanks. Let's get out there and get some laps on the board. See if we can pull a lap time out of the bag. Let's then look at our fastest lap in Q1, and as you can see, it took a little bit of time to get this quick. It was a bit of a struggle throughout the entire session. Take a little bit of curb through both 1 and 2 before getting on the DRS quickly, as you head up to 3. Car looking a little bit shaky as we head up here, but you can see the green is running quite nicely at the top right. Through turn 3 and into turn 4, keeping it tight because we kept running out too far on that sausage curb on the exit. Managed to avoid it this time and take a wide line into 5, where we've also struggled all weekend, but we're up at the first sector. Through turn 6, having to feather the throttle a little bit so as not to go too far wide, but we're pushing it now into the 8-9 chicane, 7-8 chicane, the chicane in the middle of the lap. We clipped the sausage curb, nearly put the car on its lid, but we carry on and we're heading up towards the 9-10 chicane, or a chicane in the middle of the lap down this back straight, pushing really hard, still green, and taking a fair amount of curb and taking liberties there to be just over a second up. So we're heading down into the final couple of corners of the lap, really hoping that we can keep it up. But Sector 3 has not been strong for much of the session so far, so we feel we're probably going to lose a little bit of pace, waiting to get on the throttle, because the front end just would not turn in. We're into the penultimate corner and we're well up on our best time so far. Into the final corner, we'll be tracked by somebody behind. They're not going to affect our lap though. We cross the line. Is it going to be good enough to get through? Already not enough. Well, Q1 is as far as we go in round 1 of the season. Lewis Hamilton right at the top there, as you'd expect, with Ricciardo and Verstappen. Just a run of really bad laps at the start of the session, just as we kept getting caught in traffic. But as you go down, we're knocked down 21st place, closer to Verline than we were in practice, but still not where the team wanted us. We're knocked down with Palmer, Verline, Magnussen, Ericsson and Nasser, starting from the back row of the grid for the first time, I think, for over a season now. It's going to be quite the difficult race from the back here, but I feel like I'm finally getting used to the car, so hopefully we can have a better run of it in the race.
The atmosphere is heavy with expectation and anticipation, and bearing the weight of that burden today is a place we know very well indeed. It's Albert Park. The story of the season begins here then with the Australian Grand Prix, and it's time for the first chapter to be written. We go racing today then in the state of Victoria, where the drivers have 16 corners and 3.3 miles to navigate at an average lap speed of around 120 miles an hour. The close proximity of the barriers makes accidents inevitable, and recent history shows us that a safety car is not at all out of the question. I'm joined today in the commentary box, as I will be throughout this season, by a great racing driver, former F1 competitor, a man who was world champion once upon a time as well, and an all-round top chap. It's the one and only Anthony Davidson. And tell me, here we are, first Grand Prix of the season, the first time racing these cars. So what are the big questions that need to be answered here, in your view?
First of all, Crofty, and thanks for the glowing introduction. I just want to say it's a real privilege to be here, and I can't wait to see what this competitive field has in store for us this season. Now, to answer your question, obviously there's the question of performance in race trim, but really this is going to be all about reliability. It's the first Grand Prix of the season, don't forget. You're pushing all your new components to their limits. Formula One cars are full of very sophisticated but also very sensitive technology. So the most important thing today is to get to the end of the race, keep everything in good condition, and try to stay out of trouble while you're at it.
Okay, be wary of the cars ahead braking suddenly into one. We could ruin our race if we hit them. Good luck.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Rosberg is on pole position today after coming out on top of a difficult qualifying, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Ricciardo, Lewis Hamilton and Massa, Alonso, Raikkonen, Bottas and Roman Grosjean, Kvyat, Gutierrez, Nico Hülkenberg and Button, Perez, Sainz, Jolyon Palmer and Pascal Wehrlein, Magnussen and Ericsson, a Manor and Felipe Nasser starts from the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Thank you for that, and Crofty, 21st on the grid for the opening round of the season. Not the best qualifying session, distracted by other things. Essentially, if you've been watching this series or our other series, Discovery Today, Tony, you'll know that intermittent audio issues. Been trying everything to try and fix it, doesn't seem to want to settle, so just going to muddle through with it for now, I guess. But focusing primarily on this race, as much as I felt I could give the car, it took a little bit of time for the tyres to come up, and as soon as they did, we were able to really push. But by that point, I think the damage had already been done. We weren't able to really get into a rhythm. We'd had a bit of traffic, a lot of excursions that maybe weren't going to help, and we just never really got a lap together. So it's a pretty bad start to the season, all told. But we've seen plenty of times in this series that starting at the back doesn't matter. It's making moves early and then just trying to defend and seeing if the strategy will fall in our favour. The target here, though, has got to beat Pascal, who's not far up ahead of us. 19th is what the team want. Let's go 19th for our first race of the season. It's not a big stretch, and if there's any issues for the AI, we might be able to score a bit more than that. Points, though, I think very much the question here in Melbourne. So we've really got to just try and give ourselves a good, solid, clean start to this season. But I know that's going to be tricky heading towards turn 1. Manual starts though, so that might help. So we might as well get going for 2016. Get the 5 red lights on, and here again for the 2016 Australian Grand Prix. Get the revs up as the lights come on. The 5th red light is on, and away we go. It wasn't a long hold, but we get a decent start. Magnussen moves past Palmer, who's had a bit of a slow one. We've moved past Ericsson as well. We'll head to the inside, try and keep it clean. Oh, it's all gone a little bit messy up ahead. I think somebody's speared off the road. Moved past Sainz. Wasn't under yellows apparently, so that's okay, as we'll go 2 for 1 on Hulkenberg and Kvyat into the next corner. I'm not sure who, if anyone, was speared off. I think it was just a yellow flag for contact maybe. Up to 14th off the opening few corners. Next to whatever scuffle happened up ahead. And our car from last season, Jenson Button. Have we moved? We have moved past the McLaren. Good move there. A bit late, but all work. A bit slippy slidey through 11 or 10 and 11. Survivable though, at least. Little clutch here. Alonso's in there. Perez, I think Grohl, and one of the Ferraris as well. There's Esteban Gutierrez of the Haas cars in there too. A little bit of a buffer to Button as well. Opening lap, OP13 from 21st. Roughy couple of corners and Jenson Button right with us. I like the fact they were scruffy though. We're staying with, or sort of staying with, the little gaggle ahead, led by Fernando Alonso. Useful final sector there, managing to catch up to the guys in front. Not enough to get DRS though.
Okay, gap ahead is 1.0 seconds.
I was going to say just there, had a Button, but we run deep into 1. That's going to bring the McLaren man back, and he's going to have DRS as well. We're going to have to go defensive here. All that shape through there, and Button will go through. Send it on him in the next corner. We cannot. We'll fall to 14th.
You're faster through sector 1, faster than the car ahead through sector 1.
DRS from the McLaren now. Oh, it is with that 10-11 chicane. I've been rough there all weekend, but DRS powerful enough.
Strategy change available to us. Would you like to keep to the current plan or try the new one?
current strategy as well, as we use the RS to defend from button this time. Very wide. As soon as you get the grass in this game, you slow down almost instantaneously and drift like this Formula Drift car instead, and we lose 2 spots this time to Button and Kvyat. Kvyat, they defend. Is he defending from us or attacking Button? I'm not entirely sure. A little bit of contact with the Russian. There's the back of Button through that chicane, but faster at this stage. Button locks up, runs wide, gifts us that place. Back into 13th we go. Button goes to the outside towards the chicane. We'll stay to the inside and hold the McLaren off once again. Cost him a lot of time. Into the pits, we're into the top 10. Hamilton and Raikkonen, I think I've spotted those names falling backwards. They are turned soon enough, but here comes Jenson Button once again. Holding to the inside towards turn, the outside, sorry, towards turn 3. We're going 3 wide into the chicane here. And there we go, we're spun.
To an alternate strategy. Do you want to change or stick to plan A? There's unlocked. Okay, copy that.
Back onto the track, 13th. Lost spots. 2016 AI are just kamikaze. And there goes Verline. And Hamilton. Nazar will go through as well.
10.7 seconds.
Airlines in 2. Well, this race is pretty much done for.
Pascal is in the pits.
Have to follow him in, we've got damage.
Chasing information on signs. They're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
Here we go, we'll double stack at Manor. Get a new front wing as well. Button will probably be coming in. I'd assume Kvyat as well. It's just. I found that in the pre-season race as well. AI are just kamikaze as saints, eh?
It looks like they're retiring.
VSC.
Virtual safety car deployed. Slow down and maintain a positive delta. Virtual safety car is deployed. Okay, you only have to stop once now. 1 stop left. Delta is too low and we risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately.
Who's under the VSC for a little bit?
Virtual safety car is ending. Maintain your pace until the green flag. VSC ending. Wait for green.
Ending.
Alright then,
Away
some
we go.
information on Massa. They're speeding up again, so I expect they've fixed whatever the problem was.
Had a small problem that's obviously been fixed. Frustrating, we're fighting much further up the field.
We think there's a viable strategy change available to us. Would you like to keep to the current plan or try the new one?
We get given a new strategy option. Nico Rosberg drops out of this race. We don't get to change strategy, we're going to keep going, but Nico is out. So that'll elevate us up to P18.
Safety car deployed.
Safety
The
car
safety
deployed,
has been deployed.
literally just
Watch your
about.
delta. Make sure you keep it positive as we catch the pack.
We go past
to an alternate strategy. Do
the
you want to
pit
change or
lane.
stick to plan A?
We're going to stick to plan A. Catch the safety car queue.
Strategy change available to us. Would you like to keep to the current plan or try the new one? Understood. Copy that.
Looks like the team really want me to change. If I can stick to a 1 to end this race, 1 more stop, then we might be able to get past a few of these guys, but we can catch up to the safety car queue now. back up with at least this little group. Everything else about to go in. Looks like it. As it stays out, Verline Palmer come in, so we're gonna fall. We're gonna get caught there. We can pinch a position at Palmer. Cheeky, I know, but if it's gonna do that, we are, however, gonna get held, so we'll probably lose that spot to Palmer anyway. There he goes.
Release.
Hulkenberg goes past. We're 20th and last, so Button's got by us as well.
Scheduled pit stops.
Used to be Hulkenberg we had an instant with rather than Kvyat. At least with the safety car, we'll be right back up with everybody. Maybe with one last stop as well. Got in this lap then of having a quick browse at Race Director. A number of cars in front of us. Probably got to stop one more time. We might unlock into a decent position. And all is said and done. Just staying a little bit further behind. Vettel all the way down. You can see him just behind Verline. I wonder if he's had an instant with Rosberg that's knocked his countryman out. Greens. Away we go again. Exactly gained on Palmer there, but
so the gap to our teammate is
right there.
1.9 seconds.
What happens with everybody so bunched up? Realistically, all I've got to do is stay with a little clutch of cars in front of me, because I think all of them are going to have to stop again. Super soft, some of them, so we're not going to last to the end.
NASA has just entered the pit. He's in the pit lane right
already in. NASA and Alonso
stewards have now enabled
both in.
DRS is now online.
Careful, we're up to 18th. Cars in. Nico Hulkenberg pitting. Just Hulk at the moment, but up to 17th, so moving forwards.
Be aware, there's an incident
yellow flag.
of the track. No overtaking through
Car off. It's Daniel Ricciardo. Curse of the home driver, the Red Bull.
Green flag.
I think he's moving again. Slowly, yeah, Daniel Ricciardo falls pretty much to the back as Verline is in. Somebody else in with him as well. It's Kimi Räikkönen-Eriksson's in as well. So we're up to 12th. So this alternate strategy might work out. Gutierrez is now in, so we're getting another spot. Palmer now in the points, I think. Somebody else was in, we're up to 10th.
Okay, gap ahead is 4.5 seconds.
I don't know how long we're going to hold it. Perhaps they're counting down, but the car's behind much quicker. Well, it didn't take long, but Räikkönen up behind us after his stop. Palmer in now, so we'll move into 9th briefly. Kimi is surely going to go past us. Hold it around the outside though. Ferrari don't much better. Alonso not far behind us either. We're not going to stay in the points for long, I don't think, but we will fight Kimi back. Well, in fact, Kimi then sideswiped by Alonso, and there's another yellow flag. I think he's had an incident with one of the Haas cars. Get all squirrely, and Alonso then sideswipes me.
We're considering switching to an alternate strategy. Do you want to change or stick to plan A?
We're now off again.
Copy.
We're going to have to switch the front wing. We're going to finish last. It's Fernando. It looks like F1 2016 AI, much like 2015 AI, is going to be tough to race against. Run wide on pit entry. Alonso doesn't have enough damage to warrant coming in. Fairline stays out. Ricardo's there. Gutierrez will go past. Ericsson should do as well, to be honest. Grosjean was the man who had the incident with Raikkonen, as he's been in.
Complete, go now.
Fairly dismal day at the office to kick off 2016. We've got a few laps left just to ride it out, see if there are any more retirements. That would be ideal.
Some information on Vettel. It looks like the problem is terminal. They're retiring the car.
Right at the death in this race, we will at least get our team objective as Sebastian Vettel drops out. Ferrari giving up the ghost. What is the penultimate lap?
Okay, distance
I mean, I'll take it.
Teammate, 26.4 seconds.
Great, but we'll take what we can get after what has been a very disappointing race. We begin our final lap of this dismal, disappointing, downright dastardly
This is your final lap of the
down
race.
under race. Lewis Hamilton takes the win. Start seeming to go on as Rosberg drops out as well. We got a good start. We were clean, we were tidy, we managed to make it through some carnage. And we were running up, 13th position? And then an incident with Button and Hulkenberg put us into the wall, gave us some front wing damage. Had to make a pit stop, fell to the back. VSC helped us out. To Carlos Sainz's retirement. Then when Rosberg retired, it was a late call, but the safety car eventually came out. And we went in, switched to the medium, and we're looking at no more stops to the rest of the race. As the cars in front of us pitted, we were running up in the top 10. We had an incident with Alonso. Pushed our front wing again. Been circulating at the back basically on our own ever since. It's a shame because I think we could have fought much higher up the order. I think Verline's coming home. We were just outside the points, we're right on the fringes of them. We'll go home P19 with at least hit our objective. But really not a good day at the office to start the season.
Good job, you did really well. Super driving.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Lewis Hamilton takes over the lead of the drive after an excellent result. And now I'd like to ask you, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
Let's give it to Sergio Perez. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
And now let's take a look at the constructors' standings. Williams moved to the top of the table. It was great having you with us for this weekend. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Until next time though, goodbye.
Well, thank you very much, Ant and Crofty there. Lewis Hamilton takes the victory, 8 seconds clear of Valtteri Bottas. Max Verstappen gets on the podium on his Red Bull debut. Sergio Perez finished 4th after taking a 1-stop. Felipe Massa in 5th, and it's Jenson Button, Daniel Kvyat, Hulkenberg, Magnussen in the Renault, and Daniel Ricciardo eventually recovering to 10th after his spin, contact, whatever it was. Palmer takes 11th ahead of Fernando Alonso. Kimi Räikkönen 13th with Verline in 14th. Gutierrez, Nasser, Grosjean, Ericsson. There we are, 19th and last, just about hanging on to the lead lap. Vettel, Rosberg and Sainz do not finish the Grand Prix, so they'll at least be in the championship ahead of 2 world champions, at least in our universe, and the son of a rally legend. How does that affect the drivers? Well, obviously it's all the same. Lewis leads, Bottas, Verstappen, Perez, Massa, Button, Kvyat, Hulkenberg, Magnussen, Ricciardo your top 10, And as I said, we are at least 19th. We're ahead of Vettel, Rosberg and Sainz, but that probably won't take long to change. And in the constructors' stand-ins, Williams leading the way by 3 points with both drivers scoring. Mercedes are second ahead of Red Bull, who are level on points with Force India. McLaren are fifth, just a couple clear of Toro Rosso, and then it's Renault in seventh before it's Ferrari who didn't score. Sauber, us, and we are ahead at least of new team Haas. But that was was not a good race, was it? The Australian Grand Prix, not a good way to debut. For Manor, not a good way to start the season, but there were positives. We could keep pace at times with the midfield runners. Got to be careful about dueling wheel to wheel against the AI. Much like 2015, they do like a kamikaze, which is going to prove problematic as the season progresses. So we've got to make sure that we are smart in our racecraft. But hopefully we can at least pick up a better result in Malaysia next time out. It's not Malaysia, is it? No, Malaysia is later on in the season. Whatever net round 2 is, hopefully we can pick up a decent result there. And maybe learn from our mistakes here in Australia. Wasn't the best to drive, but hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. See you for the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.